Welcome to the podcast where we take a deep dive into the stories behind construction business leaders. We will share how they got started, how they found success, and the lessons learned along the way. I'm your host, Eric Fortenberry. Welcome to Builder Stories. Welcome back, everybody. Today I am here with George Lokko, who is the owner and president of Y2 Design Build. They're located in Columbus, Ohio. Really excited to have you on the show today, George. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Eric.
Yeah, so why don't you just give us a little background? Who are you? How'd you get into construction? What do you guys do at Y2 Design Build?
Thanks for having us. First of all, it's been an honor to see the growth of your company and our company as well. Using your software has super helped us grow tremendously. So my background is my family were not builders. Let's start from there. All right. So I'm not a first, second, or third generational builder. I never grew up with any carpentry skills. Matter of fact, I did go to my whole family is in finance and in banking. But I went to school for engineering, graduated here in Ohio, started my corporate job, at that time. And right around COVID time, just like everyone else, I lost my job. But most importantly, it was not necessarily about losing a job. It was more of a pivotal moment for me to really get what I wanted to always get in life, which is to become my own, boss, but have my own entrepreneurship journey started. So, right around COVID time, it was the great time for me to really sit back and listen to what I wanted to really do with my life. And it was a good pivotal moment, like I said, in doing what I wanted to do. I've always wanted to be in construction, and I always still was in construction, but I just didn't know how to go about it. So just like everyone else, or some people, you might have going to college for a degree, graduated, did a job or started a job, and you have to pivot. So I just did the same thing, which was I had to learn from the grassroots of construction. I started off by becoming a demolition guy. So I started doing demolition with another contractor who at that time was one of the biggest one here in Ohio and still is to this day. And just learn from him. He taught me how to manage people, how to manage jobs. That skill trade was, tremendous alone for me to know how construction was. The second part of learning construction was really, with demolition, we were the first people in there. We know what's behind the walls. We know how to make sure things are not broken. We try to keep things as it is, just to, just go back into this like white canvas mode. So in that process, I got to learn about construction materials and just how things were built. So we're doing anything from like interior demolition to a whole house demolition to just everything you can think about what demolition is about. So in that process, I got to learn about construction in itself and what makes up a home. And in that process, I got curious about, how do I go about building a house, or how do I go about renovating a house? So I did some research, started learning on YouTube, then started going on site, doing field visits with some of the friends. My friends now, back then, they were not friends. They were just people I admired, right? So going back on the job sites, just trying to learn how the flow of work goes in construction, even though being a demolition guy was just one part aspect of construction. So eventually I became cognizant about the flow of work, learn about the construction world, but I just didn't know one thing. I didn't know what design was. Um, Growing up, I was so intrigued about design, art, crafts, stuff like that. And even during my job, when I graduated, I was doing design work. I was a design engineer. So I was super critical about some, stuff like dimensions and how things were placed. So you could say I was a little OCD with, how I built stuff. So I took that skill set into construction, into becoming a design consultant at first. So I was helping a lot of folks just design your projects. Generally speaking, they just reach out to me and say, "Hey, could you throw out a 3D rendering for me? I'm trying to renovate my house, or I'm trying to build this house." So I used a ton of softwares back then, just building designs, and people were really impressed about the kind of sort of ideas that I was coming about with. So it kind of sunk in me, and I had the idea of, what if I just started a architectural firm, but I'm not an architect. So obviously I couldn't do that, but I had the desire to design stuff and have them designed properly. So in effect, I took that skill, honed it with construction, and started the company Y2 Design and Build.
Man, that's awesome. So, again, you had a tough situation. COVID came along, couldn't keep doing the same job, had to go figure something else out.
Yeah.
You found an opportunity to really start at the ground level, work your way up, learn, from someone else who'd been doing it for a while, and one thing led to another. You ended up starting your own company, and now you're, president and owner, and running your own business, which sounds like was your entrepreneurial dream to begin with.
Absolutely, absolutely, yes. It's been the dream for sure, but I didn't think it would all come this far. Which, even to speak on, I highly recommend, following people who already know, or where they already are, you wish to be there. So my advice to folks is, even if you were to try and get into construction, you don't have to start from the grassroots of where I started from. You may have some background information. I just didn't have that. So I had to
Sure.
start from the bottom. But you could start from wherever you are now and just take that skill and learn, get more curious about it, pretty much.
Yeah. So what's now, in what year exactly did you start?
So we started in 2019. When I formed the business, and um in 2020 I started, I went full all in when I lost the job. But before that, I was just doubling here and there, like I was saying, doing demolition with some contractors. And so right after COVID, when I lost my job, I could try and grab every kind of job I could at that point and try to help as much as I can.
And so what's the team look like today? Is it just you, or you have some other people?
No, so we have a team of five. So
Okay.
it's myself. I have one project manager. I have one logistics manager. I have a design draftsman who helps design all of our projects, and then I have an accountant who manages all of our outputs. And
Awesome.
I'm on more on the project management side a lot, so design and project management.
And I'm curious, so how long in until you started bringing on, additional employees, and kind of who was the first person, and how did you know that you needed help?
Yeah, great question. So honestly, I was just like most entrepreneurs. I thought I could do it all. I figured that my time would have been very useful if I had managed the jobs myself. Matter of fact, I was actually very, very particular about who I brought on board. We have hired people in the past who joined us as a team and didn't work out. I quickly learned that, hiring someone doesn't not necessarily have to be with what they say on their paper, but more so the character. And I learned it the hard way, actually, by having other people come on board and just come and go. And the reason is, sometimes you look at yourself as a business and you think that you're the problem, or you may have been part of the problem, but ultimately the character of the person really determines the success of your business. So when we started, I just didn't know who to hire first. Matter of fact, I did. I'm part of this group, which I'm sure you know of. We kind of learn about business. So construction in itself is one piece, which is the construction and the technical knowledge. Then construction with business is another aspect that a lot of folks are not aware of. And the business of construction is a whole different ballgame that, if you're not aware of who to hire at the right time, you can really go down the drain. So my very first hire was an assistant. And that system was really just to help me get things off the books, off my table, and manage the day to day that doesn't really matter. So when I looked at it from that turn, if I had to go hire an assistant versus myself doing this job, I'm actually losing money if I don't hire the assistant. So went ahead to do that first, to hire the assistant to take on little tasks that I didn't want to really take care of. And then from there, because I had the strong background in project management, I decided to find someone just like myself. And the reason I was doing that was because not only am I trying to get out of the field and trying to be directly working with clients on the design side, but project management is a skill that is the hardest to find. And so to find someone just like you is the hardest thing to do. So like I said, I went through a series of different folks who came to work with us at the company. It just didn't work out right. So I had to steal someone from another construction company with the background and making sure that they know what to do.
That's great. And so, do you still like? What do you spend your time on now? Are you more on the design, sales side now, or are you still doing some project management as well?
Yeah, so I'm heavily concentrated right now on design, where I enjoyed the most. I feel like that's where a lot of my creative juices come in. On the project management side of things, I'm still a construction manager, so I still do oversee and overlook the projects on a weekly basis. I'm not dealing with the day-to-day decisions on whether we need to buy more wires or we need to go buy more cables for whatnot. That's more so done with the project management side and logistics management. But for my side, I am going back on site as a project manager to oversee the progress of the work and making sure that the job is being done um, per spec, right? But I'm heavily loaded on the front end. And the reason being is, so for a design build company, we're spending anywhere between 3 to 6 months just designing projects. So I get to spend a lot of time with the clients up front before we even go into build. And that really gives them the confidence knowing that we're going to execute as promised. And they do want to see my face still on site just to make sure things are done properly. So yeah, I do a little bit of both.
Sure. And tell us a little bit about the kind of what's the target, your ideal project that you're looking to sell.
Yeah, so our idle projects are additions and remodeling, right? And on the remodeling side, we do get a ton of calls for kitchens, bathrooms, and whatnot, but we specialize in whole house remodeling. And the reason being is because we realized that with whole house remodeling, not only are we taking the entire scope of work, but we're able to condense the project into a more full on service as a company. Because when we go with the whole house remodel, we're assigning a designer to the project, and they're able to have a full flow of the design to flow throughout the house versus just concentrating in the kitchen or just in the bathrooms. And so we try to attack multiple rooms, I'll say, when we do full house remodels, but we specialize in additions because that's where a lot of folks find a lot of their return on investments in when you do these additions. And so that's the two areas we specialize in. We do a little bit of ADUs here. In Columbus, Ohio, we're not fully we don't have a fully flat out program for ADUs, and I'm part of the board for a nonprofit that we're trying to push for ADUs in the city to be approved as part of the building zoning codes. So we've made a really good stride so far, and we're just looking forward to making this a fully pledged initiative to make sure that folks can build ADUs at the back of their homes.
That's great.
Yeah.
What have you done from a marketing standpoint? Because, I've been looking at your website. You got a great looking website. Probably even better than I might have expected, just being, as early on as you are. But like, how did you figure out that you needed to invest in marketing, and how has that affected, your ability to get leads and nurture them and convert them?
Yeah, so marketing has been a very interesting topic throughout the industry, generally speaking. I think that a lot of times as contractors, we're obviously focusing on projects and we do forget the marketing aspect. I for myself, I know I'm not a marketing guru who knows how to execute, but I know what to look for. So what we do is we have a third party service company that we hire to manage our the little stuff, right? The things like your SEOs and making sure your listing is up to date. Those are the minimum things to do when it comes to SEO. But on the marketing side, with regards to like Google Ads and stuff, we haven't been doing Google Ads for about almost 8 months now. And the reason why is because Google Ads is great. We used it. Matter of fact, Facebook is another great source. But we found out that the longevity on your ROI on investing in SEO is much better than you spending on the temporary short-term investments on Google ads or Facebook ads, even though those will help eventually with your cash flow and how things will help your company. Because we're such a niche boutique firm, we do have overheads, but we're not looking to get a ton of jobs in a year. We probably do about 10 to 12 a year. So when we look at the calculations per project and we try to invest in our marketing, we're taking what we know, which will be if we have 10 people reach out to us and we could even get one person to say who wants to work with us, then we're happy because we're not trying to do every project. And so we spend a lot of our marketing dollars on the SEO part of our websites. Other things we found a secret to what I do a lot recently, and most importantly now in our day and age, is social media. Um, it's so important to have a social media presence. I am a young guy, so I would understand like some generations may not be familiar with it, but social media is by far the best ROI for free. And the reason being is not necessarily intentionally trying to get a lead from that. One, Google has a connection or track record of having post on social media and having that kind of like follow you wherever you go. And I've had clients who follow us on social media all day, every day, just watching our stories and just interacting with our feed and stuff like that. And that ultimately helps them understand who we are and how we do work. A lot of folks just have websites with pretty pictures and you name it, right? We can always post pretty pictures any day, but our content is geared towards education and trying to educate the client and and contractors, of course, on how we work, how we go about doing certain things. And as an owner, it is my job to have that continuous education on construction and knowing what is the new stuff coming up, what is the best practices of doing certain things. So one of my favorite construction channels is Build Show. I learned a ton from that channel. There's a lot of cool videos that they show about different ways about how they build stuff. So my ultimate goal is that I continuously improve on my knowledge as I go and not just be stagnant.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, I'm extremely impressed. Like your website, your social media presence. Like again, if I didn't know that you only had 5 people on your team, I might think you're a 25-person team, doing millions of dollars in sales because like it's just so on point. And I'm so impressed by how you've been able to to deliver that. And again, what I heard is that you understood the importance of marketing and investing in it, but you knew that you weren't the right person to actually go build the website, do all of that. And so you found a marketing partner who has been able to basically kind of be an agency for you so that you still got all of those things done and delivered and are delivering on your marketing needs without having to hire someone full time or without you having to put that hat on as well. And that is such a great move, George.
Appreciate it. Yes, it's critical. Every level of the business is different, so obviously you take it as it comes. And do I see myself hiring an in-house marketing guy at some point? Of course. I mean, the dollar and the ROI on that is always there because if when you look at how much you spend in a year on marketing, that's almost the cost of you hiring it full time, right?
Yeah.
So it's almost like we're at that point where it doesn't make sense to have that in house, of course, but you do want to hire slow. In my case, I hire slow, I fire faster, only because I've hired faster and fired faster, and it always came back to bite me.
Yeah. So what have you found to be, I mean, again, kind of are you finding that these natural, organic, you know, leads, that are coming in that are finding you from the website? I mean, what other sources? I mean, are you, finding, referrals and word of mouth to be really effective? Is there any sort of networking or things like that? What else is ginning up your leads for you?
Yeah, so just apart from SEO and marketing on the digital side, like I said, social media is a big one. So we get a huge, we don't have a huge following. Actually, we have a very medium size and is organic. It's not paid following. And we get a ton of referrals. We have partnerships with architects and designers that we work with. So one of the best investments we make on a daily basis is investing in the relationships with designers. And what we do on our end is nothing genius. We're just building genuine business with people and just genuine relationships that would eventually play out at some point, right? Some investors, I mean, some investments we made are just taking like some designers to for lunch, for example. It's just as little as that, and also, giving them some of our projects because that ultimately will help them um get more business, and in return, that relationship grows and grows and helps us get much more better with our work and even referrals. Another way we go about doing it is again just social media, which is the biggest one. We don't get a ton of people asking or requesting for services through our social media, but the social media is like the roadmap that leads them to our pages that then eventually they put in a sort of what we call a request for information on our websites.
Sure. Yeah, that makes total sense. And where do you, so where do you find these designers to go network with? Is there, particular, events that you're going to, or are you going to kind of local markets, or how are you finding them?
Yeah, so I mean, it's two different ways. So one is we go to our local meetups. There are a ton of architects that we work with on purpose for different levels of projects. So whenever they have meetings or get gatherings or meetups, we like to attend and just show a face. Um, we're also meeting a lot of designers through social media too. Just by following them, right? But a lot of our referrals on designers are coming from ultimately meeting them in person and building that relationship, and then they go on to refer you to other people based on how that relationship was or how that relationship built out. And
Yeah.
then just these local nari meetings, stuff like that. Nothing fancy.
Yeah.
Nothing fancy. Yeah.
No, well, that's again making all the right moves. That's exactly how you do it.
Yep.
So tell us a little bit about your sales process. So once you get a lead in, get connected with them. Are you going out on site? Are you doing a first initial phone consultation? Kind of what's the full sales process look like to get them all the way into design and ultimately into construction?
Yeah, so our design is a 54-step process to begin with. 54 might scare a lot of people, but it's because on JobTread, we've been able to build out our schedule and template that we follow as we go. And is very detailed to the point where when we do add our designers on board, they're able to track where they are with time in terms of design. But in terms of sales, our sales management is streamlined. We use a little bit of AI and we use a little bit of human interaction. And the reason being is when we get a lead in for the first time, let's just say it's through our website, right? When we go through the website, put in the information on the website alone, your contact form is the most important form on your website. The more information you can spit out for a client to fill out for you the better you get understanding of what they're asking. Only because a typical contact us form would be your name, phone number, email, and the description. That's not enough. What we do is on our contact form, it is a pre-qualification um form you fill out that gives us an idea whether we are a good fit or not. So when by the time we reach out to you, we already have an idea from a budget standpoint to timeline to what are you looking for to if you're even a good fit to begin with. So when we do reach out to our clients, we already have a pre-qualified method before even going to a much deeper conversation. And by the time we pre-qualified them on the phone, we're straight up just asking folks or telling folks, hey, this is where we are with pricing. If that fits, we're happy to move to the next stage. If not, we can refer you to the next person. And that alone helps a lot of people just have the courtesy of declining or accepting our invitation next. And the reason is because if we're not a good fit, it automatically helps us not waste your time or vice versa. But ultimately, when you do fill out that form and you put in that request, we already know that you are ready to kind of go forward, and we go from there. The next step from there, after doing the pre-qualification, is we do a site visit, which is for free. We don't charge from site visits. On the site visits, there are two things we're really trying to knock out. One, to understand the project, have an eye to the project, of course. But two, most importantly, understand and body language. So I study a lot on sales. I've studied, you can name it Jim Ron, you can say Dan Kennedy, you name it, the greats in sales. And body language is probably one of the best ways to learn about your clients. And so with body languages, we're learning about how our clients are reacting to certain things when we talk about. So sometimes it's just price it, and it's like you can tell from the body language is not the right fit right away. So, and the reason why we do that, or the reason why we study that part, is because right after we do a site visit, we're going straight into what we do a presentation. So we don't send quotes over the phone or text or emails. We're actually doing a presentation to our clients. And the reason is because our ticket items are pretty high. And so for tickets that high is for a certain caliber of people who value their time and value effort. And so we go beyond that effort of presenting to them. And that helps at least put us in a different bracket when they meet us in person. And then right after presenting those design proposals, we actually create the proposal by doing rendering. So I'm the guy who's doing the design sometimes. I do have my draftsman who does that as well. But we team up and work together and kind of brainstorm more of some good ideas to come about. And when right after we do that, we present it to the client and they do accept it, we go into a design agreement. And like I said, the design can take anywhere between 3 to 6 months. Right after this design is completed, we go hunting, finding we go find some bids, and hopefully those fit into our proposal. And then from there, we go into build.
Yeah, that's great, man. That's you've really got it dialed in. I mean, with the 54-point step process for design, kind of getting them, through. It sounds like you really are making sure that, everything that, every detail is it's kind of figured out and flushed out on the front end. So, sounds like your goal is hopefully to not have to use change orders and things like that.
Yeah, so that's what we pride on. Those are our offers where we talk with our clients is we guarantee no change orders, and we guarantee that the price of our materials that we buy is not, there are no markups on it. So no change orders, no markups on materials. You get the price of what you pay for on those
Wow.
materials.
And that's pretty awesome. I want to hire you alone for those guarantees right there. That's very rare, George. I mean, yeah, how did you, I mean, I gotta believe that's like a really nice, like, selling, selling value add there. Like, I can't say I've ever heard another contractor actually kind of guarantees no change orders or markups on material.
Yeah, so the reason why we stand behind those two things is because of the design. Design is so critical that if we skip design process or the design phase, I can almost guarantee a change order. The reason being is what I consider it to be is I have 3 months to figure it out. Right. So if I'm giving any project, and like right now we're doing a project with, the state, and it's a private project, like we can't discuss about it. And when I approached them, I had mentioned, hey, we need design, and they said, why do we need a design? I said, so I can guarantee you no change order. And the reason I'm guaranteeing that is because I am taking my time to really price things out for you. And when I'm pricing things out, you might have a 30 or 60-day period to have those quotes or, estimates to be valid. And so if I'm able to get some pricing around for whatever we're doing, I'm guaranteeing that there's no changes, one. And then two, I'm doing my takeoff ahead of time, knowing that I know what the project is going to be. And I know that once we're done with the design, you would have a full blown drawing that is up to date with accurate pricing. And that if you only feel comfortable, you can let someone else bid the project, and hopefully you get to see why our process is a valuable process.
Yeah. So and I assume that's you're charging for the design, right? And for that.
Yeah. So our design phase is a complete different phase from our build phase. And the way we go about it is we build for that with our designers. We work hand in hand with our designers, and then we work, with our team on the drafting the floor layouts. And then from there, if they're happy with what they see with the price that we give them, they're able to take that and go into build with us.
Yeah, that's great. Is that would you say kind of the conversion, rate from design to build is fairly high, I assume?
Yeah, it is. So we've had folks where, and it's so interesting to see the two side of the spectrum. You have folks who are patient enough to understand that we've had homeowners who have done remodeling in the past, got burnt because they hired Chuck in the truck, and regretted it, but can't do anything about it. And then every maybe 5 years, is a new project that comes about with the same client. And so we've had those clients who've had that experience. And when we explain to them what our process is about and how we go about it, they feel more confident because now not only are they just saying that they get to pick out all of their stuff ahead of time, they get to see what the prices are, knowing that, hey, for example, George, let's just say my target investment is around 300,000. I can't go above that. Maybe I could do 320. So what we're doing is taking that number and dialing in everything we can to fit into that number. Now, if things go higher or lower, is because they chose to go with something that's more expensive. But we do our best to try and fit those budgets and those projects in to fit into that budget investment range that they have. So ultimately, it helps us know that as a guarantee. And then for them, they have the guarantee knowing that if I have to spend this amount of money to a project, I don't have to worry about spending more because I know what I'm getting. I know the tile, I know the floor, I know the paint, I know who I'm dealing with. And, hence why it takes about 3 months to complete.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it sounds like a great service again to have you go through every single detail. That's also going to bring them the confidence, moving into the next stage, where you'll actually start the construction. So I mean, I think it's a great move. Now, I gotta ask, let's say, or has there ever been a situation where you got into a project and something happened, some unforeseen, issue, challenge thing happened that like, okay, the price is going to change, or there's got to be, how do you deal with that if that's ever happened?
Oh, it happens all the time. It happens all the time. And I'm starting to understand that it is just the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
And only because now we're humans and we make mistakes. And you control what happens with construction management is that you can control the flow of construction, but you can't control someone making a mistake because it could happen at any given time. For example, I had a client that we were installing the project, a screen for, and we had all the materials put together, and something happened, and it ripped off. It was not intentional. It was just a fault of one of the installers, and it delayed the project because now we have to wait to get this done, have this shipped by the manufacturer, and replace that, then continue with the work. And so ultimately, from the client standpoint, not super happy about it, right? But at least the what we do in those times is communication. Communication is probably not probably the most tool, the best used tool to use to be used in construction besides a hammer. Because once you have that communication skill, you're able to communicate whether it's bad, good news or bad news, or hey, I just want to let you know there's going to be a 2 week delay time. Yeah, it's not good news, but you're at least telling them because they have the expectation of knowing that, hey, I'm going to be done next week, but because now we have a delay, we don't know what's going on. So we owe it to ourselves that at least the first thing we do when there are issues on site is to communicate with the client. But besides that, from the company standpoint, obviously that affects our bottom lines, and that ultimately eats into our profit. But we do have a cushion that we put into each line to make sure that those issues that come around are taken care of, right? So we have a contingency line that we add to our budgets that we I took this from a commercial contractor, right? So when you're doing commercial or government work, you can put in those contingency budgets as a line item. But what it is that it is money that is part of the project. But if it's not being used up, we refund that back to the client. So a high level number, if you have $1,000 contingency on your budget, what we do is we take that money up front because we don't know what's going to happen. And at the end of the project, when we notice that there is nothing to be scared of, or there's nothing to be worried about for the project, we refund that money back to the client, because that ultimately lets us know that we can stand behind our word and knowing that we are not going to change order. And I think for any client who knows that I'm going to get a check back at the end of a project, I mean, that's probably the most exciting thing, right? So that's one of the satisfying things we do for clients at the end of the day once the projects are complete.
That's awesome. I love that. And I couldn't agree more. I mean, communication, it is so important. I mean, that literally can make or break the entire customer's experience,
Sure.
going through a construction project, because there's any number of things that can happen. And when the worst things happen, as long as you communicate, you're forthcoming, you're transparent, you're having these interactions, you're sharing with them, hey, we know this is happening, here's our plan, here's what's happening, like keeping them in the loop. I think it's the best way that you can possibly mitigate their anxiety and their feelings of concern that will naturally come up. So I think that's great. I'm curious, are you guys using, like, the daily logs feature? Are you sharing updates, like the photos, progress work? Like, how do you involve the client, on their job tread?
Oh yeah, we are heavy on daily logs. We so what I do for, even on the project management side, we make sure that on site we have a checklist, right? And we actually have a paper version of a checklist, and we also have the iPad version. But I'm kind of old school too sometimes when it comes to certain things. But there, I have a checklist that every trade that comes on site, whether it has to do with doing certain tasks for the day, our PMs or even our logistic manager has to report that on our daily logs, and we share that daily log with the clients on their dashboard. And so, for example, I have one client who was out of time, and they were super happy that we had those reports, because then they get to see what was done with some pictures and videos, and they get to see that we have, certain issues. So we can discuss things like setbacks and things like that on the report. So we are super heavy on that. Now, I know on site it's kind of hard to always do the daily logs because you might be super busy, super tired, or maybe out of town somewhere or doing something else. So what we try to what I tell my PM is that I do understand sometimes you miss it, and we do have a KPI for that, by the way, that we track. And if you don't keep up with that, you literally lose your bonus for the year. So we try to make sure that they're incentivized for it, basically. But on the minimum, we require a 3 log per project in a week. If you can do 5, do a minimum of 3, because that means you could do a Monday, Wednesday, or a Friday. And what that tells me is that you were actually on site for each project that we are doing. Whether you miss a Tuesday or a Thursday, but at least 3 days out of that week, you were on site to make sure the project was going. And I think that for me is sufficient, and it's sufficient for me to say that we know what's going on, and sharing that information with our client.
Yeah, that's great, and I'm sure they must really appreciate it. I know I had our pool built by a job trade contractor, and at first they weren't sharing the daily logs, and I was like, "Hey, would y'all share those?" And they, "Oh, we didn't even realize we could." And so then they started sharing it, and it was just like awesome. My wife and I, like, we felt like we were part of this journey, and like we saw the updates, and even like when nothing was going to happen, like sometimes they were still, reporting back and saying, "Hey, we're still waiting on this," or everything's, on track. We're just, wait until next week or whatever it may be. Like, I think being able to like involve the customer is such a great way to like make them feel even more bought in. And, it also kind of gets you, gets them off your back a little bit. Like we weren't, "Hey, where are you? Where are you? Why are you guys not here?" It's like, "Oh, we can check the schedule and we see," and just kind of having those clear expectations, I
Yeah.
think was really beneficial.
And speaking on that, I think for us, what we do, we set expectations with our clients. So we have an expectation covenant that we give to our clients, and one of them is to use the data log. And so we tell our clients, if you had a quick question, you can text that. So a question could be like, "Hey, what time are you going to be here?" We're going to be here at 8 o'clock, for example. But if it's a question about the project, we refer them to go back to your dashboard. As a matter of fact, I have a Loom video that I send over to my client before we start projects to bookmark the daily log or the dashboard on your computer.
Nice.
And we do what I probably 9 times out of 10, if I get a text from a client, I say, "I'm going to give you the answer on the dashboard. So if you
Mhm.
want the answer, you can look it on the dashboard." So we try to prevent text messages and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to get clients to always use it, but at least if we get our win rate to be at least 80% of that conversation being tracked on the dashboard, we know what's going on.
Yeah. So, and I see you've got the client portal, the login link. So do you show them like how to save the app on their phone? Because sometimes that can also, it's like I'm in the moment, I want to send something. It's like, all right, we'll
You know,
just pull
right?
up JobTread and send.
Actually, I haven't done that. I think I'm gonna do that. Thinking about it, because I know on my phone I have the Job Trade app, but I
Yeah.
know I can also do it on the computer. So that's a good way to actually have them get quick access to it versus using the computer. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
do that next. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's again, my wife and I, it's how we kept along, and super helpful to have it there. I'm curious. So once you get the project kind of wrapped up, like tell me about sort of what's the process of kind of closing out with the homeowner. Are you asking for those reviews, for the referrals? Do you ever record any testimonials? Like how do you kind of really take that last step to make sure that all this effort and this great project you delivered, that you can sort of parlay that into additional marketing, content, and hopefully get more referrals and leads from it.
Yeah. So our punch out list is pretty intense. I'm sure everyone understands the punch out could take a very long time. So what we do for the most part with a punch out is obviously over communicating towards those times, is because because that's when most of the times we have delays as well, is the punch out. So we over communicate first. Number two, we have a punch out list that we create that one, we started off using it with job site codes where we have these QR codes, and we go in there, create this list, put out the QR code. Hey, this is the punch out list code. So our contractors go on site, scan that, know what is on there. Luckily and thankfully, JobTread now can create these QR codes for us. So we're now going to adopt that into our system. So we do create QR codes for our punch out. um, we also have a third party company we work with. It's two actually. So one is with JobTrade, which is Nice Job, and Nice Job is very good for tracking reviews, and they do have a service for sending out some brownies to get some brownie points, which is really good. I recently came across another company that actually does much more. I can't remember their name. I think it's Dunzo. I think it's the name. And what they do is they take your lead, and then they create this radius map and try to shoot out newsletters, not newsletters, but mail newsletters to your clients and nearby to let them know that you are actually working in the job area. So we're just about to sign up with them. We haven't done that yet, but I think it's a pretty cool thing to do. So we're gonna integrate that into our punch out time to that, so that at that time we get some folks around that neighborhood to know that we're working in that neighborhood. Um, and also depending on the scope of work and how grande the project is, sometimes we do some parties with the clients, right? So we just maybe throw a party to invite some folks in there to come watch what we did. If they agree, of course. We might do like a some get some food, some drinks, and talk about the projects if we have to. But we mostly 9 times out of 10, I've only had one client who's agreed to do that. 9 times out of 10, they're like, "No, thank you, we're great, we're great, good with where we are." And so that's another thing we do towards the punch out. The other thing we do during punch out is photography. And we do some type of content behind that. What I try to do is to stay away from trying to show off projects, and the reason is because again, your homeowner or your client or your next client who you're wishing to work with, yes, they do want to see that you have some good work, and they do want to see that you say who you say you are. But 9 times out of 10, they already have an idea of what they want, right? Because they go on Pinterest, they go on House, save all those photos, and he's like, "Hey, here we go. This is what I want." But we try to really use our social media to educate rather than show off. And so we still do photos. We still do take photos at the end of the project. We don't post so much of that on our social media. Maybe we throw it here and there. But other than that, we just mostly try to knock out as much as we can on the list. And then what we do is also, which is really important, is when we're completely knocked out with the punch list, we give our client a sort of like blank page with, it has a header on top, the company logo and stuff like that. And what we tell them is to go through the entire home within a week after we're done and when they leave. And if they find anything that we missed during the punch out, we'll come back within that week to complete it. So it's a very important step because yes, we have a punch list that we've created. We know what we need to do to be done. But sometimes you may have like a paint, ripped off on the wall somewhere, or you may have someone who broke a tile somewhere outside, So we tend to give the homeowner a chance to go through themselves. And this is only if we're working in those areas. Now I've seen it where they take advantage and tell you like, hey, someone broke the tile upstairs when we never went in there, right? But we try our best to give the homeowner the chance to look in the areas that we worked in and create their own punch list that they feel like wasn't done or wasn't done right, and we try to knock those out after as well.
Yeah, that's great. And it sounds like you've really got this whole process very dialed in. You're providing a great customer experience. I have no doubt that your clients are really happy, and I see all the 5-star reviews. It goes to show for that.
Appreciate
I'm
it.
curious, what would you say has been, some of the biggest challenges for you building this business from the ground up?
One of the biggest challenges I faced earlier and maybe still is just the talent. The talent is there. I believe that there are people out there who are super talented and very passionate about what in this industry. It's very and I think that the one thing we found to be super helpful with talent is not just, hey, come out here, come work with us and do the job. We 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 s- we we pride ourselves on more on continuous education. Only because you're only as good as where you are currently. And so we like to invest in I like to invest into the people that work with us. And this is specifically with project management or even to end design. And we would go to like trade shows or like ideas, for example, just so we could go network. But we also would like to do like online courses for project management. So I am getting ready to sign my logistics manager for a project management course online to just learn about project management, because what we want to do is create that track record for them to grow within the company. So one of the few challenges we face is finding the right talent for the right reason. Obviously, everyone comes in to make money, but sometimes the passion is not there, and you can see it sometimes. And it's this industry is very hard, so it takes a lot from you, and if you can't give back, it's kind of hard to grow.
Sure.
um and then the last thing, honestly, is trying to I think one of the few things we've done our best in this area is educating a client, and that has to do with everything with making a client understand that not all contractors are the same, right? I understand that we've all had experiences. Matter of fact, I had experience before I even started construction where I got duped by a contractor, and that was my first eye opener. Like, this is a crazy industry you're in, right? And so, even though it has a negative connotation to it, hands con, it makes it hard for the right people sometimes to express and make them understand that, you know, this is why we're different. Though we do our very best and we go beyond our measure and limits of explaining some things of how we go about our process, I think our process is the thing that clients appreciate, and not so much about the finished product alone. Because the
Yep.
finished product will always be there, but the process to get there is really what our clients appreciate. But it is hard to see that until you get to that finish line, right?
Yeah.
So that's one of the few things that I see that a lot of the clients in the beginning don't see necessarily the benefit of going through a 54-step process. But then at the end, I always ask them, like, do you think this was beneficial? They're like, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like so intimate that they're able to make decisions right there and then versus, oh, well, I never picked that tile or I never picked that door, for example. And that creates that resentment for contractors that obviously we're not.
Sure. Yeah, no, that makes total sense, and I think you do a really great job, back on your website of educating your clients about the process and what it's going to be like to go through it, and showing them how this is going to take them from the very start all the way through to the end, and it's super helpful. I mean, I love the attention to detail that you have put into really focusing on the education. I mean, and even the pricing guide that you have up there, like giving them those ranges and helping them understand, like, what is a typical, kitchen gonna cost? What's an addition gonna cost? Like, and having kind of the different options there. I mean, like that just it helps them, understand so much more than if they're totally cold and they don't have any idea what they're about to get into. I think that really like sets you apart from anyone else that they may be talking to, and you might not have even talked to them yet, but you're already so far ahead and helping them, understand the process and what it's going to be like to work with you. So
Yeah.
great job, man.
Appreciate it. No, appreciate it.
So, but kind of lastly, I'm just curious as we wrap up, is there anything that you wish you would have known, back when you were starting the business that you now know, or just kind of any general advice that you would give for others who, maybe earlier on in their journey, they're still got, one foot in the tools, one foot in the business, trying to figure out how to start making some moves and want to set themselves up to be able to reach the same level of success that you've had.
Yeah, so what I would advise anyone, be it in business or construction, is invest in yourself, number one. Um, Again, it is hard to find the right person to work with or even learn from. And so, I would say take the time to learn who is doing it better than you. If it's a consultant or if it's another builder or another remodeler, who you can partner up with is, number one, invest in your time and into yourself in learning the craft of the business. Not just about the crafts and the tools, but in the business, because that is what is going to ultimately give you that projection of your growth. Number two is, um, no, construction is almost where there are folks where they love what they do because they love building, but you can, just like anything you have love for, you can be out of love with as well. So what I say is try to get out of the tool for a little bit and be in the business of construction to see how to manage. Because construction management is really people management. If you look at it, it is not about whether you know how to drive a nail through or how you screw this into the wood like that. The technical stuff are great to know and have a background in. So then, if anyone is messing up, you can catch that. But the business of it is people management, and people management is not just trades on side. It's not just your company or your employees. It's actually even client management, because client management is, in what I see, is not just about kissing, trying to do everything that the client wants you to do, but more so creating the experience for them, which eventually helps your company create the experience for your employees. And so I'll say two things, which is, one, invest in yourself, invest in the time, and invest in some type of, I don't want to call it a mentorship, but someone who knows what you're doing and you just
Sure.
learn from them. And then three is invest into your people, right? Which, if you do have employees, invest in them as well, because they ultimately would help you grow the company from where you are to where you go. And of course, hire the right people. So those will be my four advice.
Awesome, George. This has been extremely insightful. I really appreciate you coming on, sharing your experience, your story, how you've built your business. It's been an inspiration for us to be able to watch you over the years continue to build this. Stephanie is, constantly telling me how awesome and how much she loves to work with you. Thinks that, again,
I always bother her.
no, she's been and all of us have been very impressed. And again, you're making all the right moves, doing all the right things. I'm really excited to see what the future holds for you. I have no doubt that you will build a very, very successful and profitable business here because of all of the blocking, the tackling, the foundation, the systems, the processes. Like you get it, you've put it in place, you're living it, and you're doing it, and you're doing a great job at it. So thank you for letting us just be a partner, a little fly on the wall, getting to see you and all the success. But
If you success with us, and you guys be like use success, so I appreciate it.
absolutely. Well, thank you again for coming on.
All right, take it easy. Thank
All
you.
right. See ya.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Builder Stories. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and gained valuable insights that can help you in your journey along the way. Don't forget to subscribe to the show and leave us a review. And as always, if you or someone you know has a story to share,
please contact us at builderstories.com. We'd love to hear from you. I'm Eric Fortenberry, and remember, every builder has a unique story. Keep building yours.